Namaste. I'm glad to be back with Nakutanti Chintana Manthana after a gap of years. Actually, 2 years or 3 years ago, I did the first part of the Nakutanti poem, the analysis of it. I could not actually find time to sit back and work on the next video all these years because of my schedule, but I am taking this as a blessing, this corona situation as a blessing, that I got this time to sit and work on this video, and I'm presenting it before you right now. Let me clarify one thing. Even though Nakutanti is one of the greatest works in Kannada literature, I am making this video in English, not with any other intention, but just so that people who do not speak Kannada can engage with this poem. And this video is intended to communicate to these people. Many of my friends who are in Bangalore or away from Bangalore and even in other countries who want to engage with Kannada literature often ask me for the meanings and to make such videos, and this is intended at them. People who know Kannada obviously have so many wonderful sources in Karnataka who will explain this in Kannada. So this video is intended for those people, so that is why I am speaking in English. Please pardon me. In the first part of the poem, we actually we saw that it was replete with imagery of the nada aspect of poetry that Bendre is talking about. So Nanu, Inu, Anu, Tanu, Avu, Ivige. So it starts from that. Anyways, I'm not going back to the first poem again, first part of the poem again. Other than the philosophical aspect of nada, okay, so the next three parts of the poem, which we are going to discuss now, the poem is basically in 4 parts, is going to talk about the imagery of poetry and the relationship between a poet and the poetry, or the kartra and what comes out as the kriti. So this is going to be the next 3 aspects. In the first aspect, Bendre or Ambika Tanayadatta, he visualizes the imagery of Kavya Kannika. Kavya Kannike is this damsel of poetry personified as a damsel. So the arrival of hers. So when the nada and the initial preparation of the spiritual journey and on the surface level of the creative process is complete, next is the arrival of poetry. So how this arrival of poetry happens, how words come and fill into the place of nada and how it finds a meaning. So that is the second part. Now the third part is how to add the sattvika bhava, how to add meaning which can take this poetry beyond its mundane value. That is the third part. So it happens as a conversation between the poet Ambika Tanayadatta and 2 other aspects, which will come to that when we reach that part. And the fourth part is the manifestation of this complete structure of poetry, as we call it. The manifestation of this whole thing happens in the last part. So first we'll begin with the second part of the poem. The first part of the poem, I would like to reiterate, has been done in the first part of the video. You can go back in my YouTube channel and check it. Now we are going to cover the next 3 parts of this magnum opus of poetry, Nakutanti by Dara Bendre, with his pen name Ambika Tanayadatta. Okay. So the second part goes like this. Govina kodugeya ಹಡಗದ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಬೆಡಗಿಲೆ ಬಂದಳು ನಡು ನಡುಗಿ ಸಲಿಗೆಯ ಸೂಲಿಗೆಯ ಬಯಕೆಯ ಒಲುಮೆ ಬಯಲಿನ ನೇಗೆಯ ಸಿರಿಯುಡುಗಿ ನಾಡಿಯ ನಡಿಗೆಯ ನಲುವಿನ ನಾಲಿಗೆ ನೆನೆದಿರೆ ಸೋಲುವ ಸೊಲ್ಲಿನಲಿ ಮುಟ್ಟದ ಮಾಟದ ಹುಟ್ಟದ ಹುಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಜೇನಿನ ಥಳಿಮಳಿ ಸನಿಹ ಹನಿ ಬೆಚ್ಚಿದ ವೆಚ್ಚವು ಬಸರಿನ ಮೊಳಕೆ ಬಚ್ಚಿದ್ದಾವುದೋ ನಾ ತಿಳಿಯೇ ಭೂತದ ಭಾವ ಉದ್ಭವ ಜಾವ ಮೊಲೆ ಊಡಿಸುವಳು ಪ್ರತಿಭೆನವ ಪ್ರತಿಭೆನವ. So this is the second part of the poem. The first part goes like this. Govina kodugeya. So govu, in the first part it starts as avu ivige. So I said avu is akalu or the cow or representative of Kamadhenu, the source of power that is giving forever, whatever you want, never ending giver. So from this never ending source of creativity of this Kamadhenu, this Govina koduge, this is the gift of that Kamadhenu, is the first line. Who? This Kavya Kannike. The Kavya Kannike or the poetry is born as a gift of this never ending source of creativity, never ending source of creativity, this cow, this Kamadhenu. Hadagada Hudugi. So this girl comes in a hadagu. Hadagu means a ship. So Hadagada Hudugi, when I say it, she is a woman, a girl, Hudugi, who comes on a hadagu, who comes on a ship. Hadagada Hudugi. Now this ship, it is a symbol of this idea being afloat in your Hridaya Samudra, in the ocean of your heart, in the ocean of your creativity, in the ocean of your mind. This poetry, the woman sits in a boat, in a ship, and she is coming, sailing towards you, is coming out to be manifested from this source of creativity. Bedagile Bandalu. Now when I say Bedagile Bandalu, it means that she is coming with all her vivaciousness and gracefulness, with all the natkas and thumkas, you can call it in Hindi. So she's coming with that, with all the bedagu. She's coming with all the graciousness, like the boat moves or a ship moves in an ocean. Nadu Nadagi. Now this is how the Kavya Kannike comes. Nadu Nadagi. Now Nadu Nadagi means, it might means, Nadagi is the word used for shivering. So Nadu Nadagi might mean also that she's coming shivering because she's anxious to come out and express herself. So when you want to come out and express yourself, there is this anxiousness, this is very powerful anxiousness of how this poetry is going to be manifested. So she herself is very anxious about how she's going to look when she's going to come out. So with this anxiousness, Katarate in Kannada we call it, she comes shivering, Nada Nadagi. Also, Nadu is the word which means center, or in Kannada it is commonly used for the waist of the person. So this Kavya Kannike, who is a damsel, she's probably dancing on the ship. Nadu Nadagi, her waist is quivering. That means she is moving and dancing and coming joyfully. That also can be the meaning. I'm taken back to the famous Malayalam poem Kanaka Chilanga Kulungi Kulungi. Talks about Kavya Nartaki, Kavya poetry, being a dancer and how she comes with her anklet shining. So I've constantly taken back to that imagery when I talk about this. So this is how the poetry is arriving as a woman on a ship. Next, Saligeya Suligeya. Now Saligeya Sulige means to extract or to earn or to steal also sometimes maybe, or to forcefully take. But this forceful taking happens with a salige. Salige means it's like you're taken for granted. There is like a kinship. There is a flirtatiousness to that. So with this flirtatiousness, you start taking and giving into this poetry, this woman of poetry. So there is a give and take of flirtatious nature between the poet and the poetry. Bayakeya Olume, Saligeya Suligeya Bayakeya Olume. Now this Olume, there is this spring of there is a never-ending spring of desire that is always given in exchange to this give and take with the poetry happening. Bayalina Negeya Siri Udugi. And this poetry, this woman, this Kavya Kannike, what is she wearing? When all this process of flirtatiousness of this give and take is happening, she is wearing Bayalina Nege. Bayalu means field. It also can mean open, directionless, direction. It can mean all the directions. So when Bayalina Nege, when she is wearing this open field as her sari or as her clothing, it goes on to say that she's wearing the dikkus, the directions are her ambara. So it is another way of saying digambara. So basically meaning that she is naked. She's come with all her nakedness. With all her nakedness, she's standing with you for this flirtatious exchange of poetry. Siriyudugi. Siriyudugi means in that nakedness also she is very rich. Okay, so when you talk about this nakedness, it can also mean vulnerability, about how vulnerable this Kavya Kannika is, and it also talks about the Brihat Bhava, how she is she's omnipresent or all encompassing. So this idea of poetry is all encompassing. So that is also a way of looking at it. The next verse says, Nadiya Nadigeya Naluvina Nalige. Nadiya Nadigeya Naluvina Nalige. Now Nadiya Nadige. So her gait, the poetry, the way it moves is in sync with the poet's pulse. Nadiya Nadigeya. So her walk is in sync with the pulse of the poetry, the creative pulse, the physical pulse of the poetry. Naluvina Nalige. Naluvina Nalige, it means that her speech, the tonality of the speech also is in tandem or is in sync with the pulse of the poetry. Now, till this level we have come, we are talking about Kavya Kannike as a prospect. We should also address the other layer, the spiritual layer of Nakutanti that is ever flowing deeply within this poetry. So first we have spoken about Nada. Now the Nada, the unheard, unvisualized sound that we are talking about, now this has to manifest into the physical, the three-dimensional world that we are in. Now how does this manifestation of this knowledge, the spiritual knowledge happens? This knowledge happens when there is a lot of churning, and this Sahasrara Chakra or this ever representant source of energy in your Sahasrara, in your brain, that gives out this source of sound, this source of knowledge. It comes in a boat, dancing into your heart. And this woman of knowledge, the Saraswati that is coming into your heart, okay, she's flirtatiously engaging with you. She's having a give and take with you. She's showing her naked self, which is also the Brihat self, this knowledge, this pure knowledge of ecstasy that is coming your way. This knowledge is in sync with when the physical poetry is in sync with the nadi or the pulse of the poet. This spiritual woman, this spiritual knowledge, this spiritual metaphorical identity that we are looking at, okay, the poetry, the Kavya Kannika, in a spiritual context. Where is she? She is in tandem with your nadi of the yoga nadis. You know, in yoga we talk about the prana nadis, that are there within the chakras. When you talk about kundalini, or when you talk about even yoga sharira, in the yoga sharira there are nadis. So she is in sync with the nadis or the movement of energy in this nadi. You might have heard a very popular phrase in Devi Sahasranama, which says Yogeshwara Prana Nadi. Yogeshwara Prana Nadi. So Devi is Yogeshwara Prana Nadi. So she is the pulse of Yogeshwara. So like that, this Kavya Kannike is also pulse. It is very interesting that in Indian terminology, in poetry or in the mantras or whatever you want to call it, the terminology always uses the power is the male, but the action is always female. Okay, so the Shakti is, the manifestation is always female. The manifestation is always female. So when you call Shakti, the energy that flows, it is a female, it is Shakti. It is Shakti. So here Prana Nadi, like she is the energy, the Mahatripura Sundari, or the energy in with reference to Lalita Sahasranama. Here even Kavya, though Kartra is the male energy, the one who is creating, the Kavya that comes out is female energy. That is how they look at it in terms of gender. So in that Prana Nadi, that concept is also here, Nadiya Nadige, Nalavina Nadige. So her manifestation happens in the Nadis. Nenedire Soluva Sollinali. Now, nenedire means, it also mean you're always thinking, you're thinking, or it also can mean nenedire is dripped. Nenedu is also another word in Kannada used for dripped or totally drenched. What is she drenched in, or what is she lost in contemplation of? Soluva sollu. Soluva sollu is a very beautiful terminology. Sollu is basically the sound, the shabdha. Sollu is shabdha, which the words or the sound that comes out. Now this sound or the shabdha that is coming out is with the tonality of solo. Solo means to lose. In another etymology, if you're looking at it, it also means to surrender. It also means to surrender. So this, she is dripped in the tone of surrender. She is dripped in the tone of surrender, or she is dripped in the tone of forgetfulness. Forgetfulness, or a total intoxication. Intoxication also is possible. When we study Padavarnams in Carnatic music or dance tradition also, we often see the heroine or the narrator of the Varnams, the lyricist, the writer, using the words Mohamana. Mohamana. Moha is this intoxicated forgetfulness. So she is drenched in this intoxicated forgetfulness. It is a very Shringara based terminology also. And when we are talking about even the Yogeshwara Prananadi thing, even in a spiritual angle, it talks about this complete union, complete merger. It is in that sense, there is this total intoxication. She's shivering, and in the meantime, she is also totally intoxicated. In this intoxicated state, this sound or the Kavya Nartaki is drenched now. This is the next. What happens next? Muttada Matada Huttada Huttige. Okay, very beautiful words. Now, Muttada Mata. Muttada means untouched. Okay, Mata is magic. So, untouched mysticism. So, she has this untouched mysticism or unknown virgin mysticism in her. Huttada Huttige. Huttada Huttu means a birth without birth. A birth that is without being born, or something that is created without taking birth. So in that state, she is there. She is born and yet unborn. Okay, even in the Lalita Sahasranama, this term is used for Devi. They called Anadi, they call her Adi, they call her birthless and eternal. So this is the terminology. It stands for some eternal presence. Okay, Huttada Huttige, birthless, eternal. Also, I'll come to another terminology when we come next. Jainina Thalamali Saniha Hani. So now this Nadige in the pulse, she has come close, and there is a forgetfulness, a desireful forgetfulness. And when that manifestation is happening, now you're experiencing a magical mysticness that you cannot touch. And in this untouched mystical union that you're having with this Kavya Kannika, there is this unborn birth that is happening. And in that moment of birth of this unborn thing, this eternal birth that is taking place, there is a shower of nectar. There is a shower of nectar happening very close to you or all around you. So that happens when there is an intercourse between the Kartru and the Kavya, or when it is just created. In another sense, when the energy or the Nadi, Yogeshwara Prananadi, when it is moving up and there is this forgetful union happening in this Sahasrara, it is always called as the honey. You are finding Sudhara Savarsha, Chit Sudhara Savarsha. So you are getting a rain of honey. So that is exactly what is you did Jainina Thalamali. So there is a shower of droplets of honey. Okay, and what is so beautiful is in this Rasadhara, when he talks about the Jainina Thalamali, he uses Saniha honey. So honey is drop in Kannada, but also the Shabda Brahma aspect of Bendre, right? I keep saying he does not just use the word for its meaning, he also uses the word for its sound. So the honey is also in English honey, nectar. The English word honey and the Kannada word honey, which is a drop, they both are used in tandem together. So very beautifully and intelligently by the Bendre. So when there is a complete surrender in the Yogeshwara Nadi and the energy moves to the Sahasrara, and there is this merger of the Paramatma Jivatma aspect, as we call it, or the Atma with the Brahma, there is the Sahasrara, the Sudhavarsha happening, the rain of honey or nectar or of sweetness. So that is mentioned in the this stanza. In the next stanza, it goes further. There is a contemplation. ಬೆಚ್ಚಿದ ವೆಚ್ಚವು ಬಸರಿನ ಮೊಳಕೆ ಬಚ್ಚಿದ್ದಾವುದೋ ನಾ ತಿಳಿಯೆ. Now in this process of this union that has happened between the Kartra and the Kavya, between the Nadi and the Sahasrara, between the Atma and the Brahma, there is always this question about what was spent, what was given away and what is left. What was given away and what is left with you? Vecha, what have you spent for this union? When you question this, you notice that there is a sprout happening within your womb. Within the thought process of your mind, there is a new sprout happening. So what you have given, you have also gained back. There is a sprout that is happening in your mind. It is also very sexual allegorical representation of how in the give and take that happens between the Prakriti and Purusha, or the male and female, they don't know what they have given and taken from each other. There is a lot that is spent from both sides, and there is a lot that is gained also. So there cannot be an account for that in a male and female relationship or between two people, irrespective of gender, even in sexual union. In the very similar way, here in the poetic union of the Kartra and the Kavya, or the spiritual union of the energy and the matter, or Atma and Brahma, in all this also, there is in this union, there is a certain give and take that cannot be analyzed, that cannot be accounted for. But there is always a new sprout happening in the womb, in the conscious, in the subconscious. There is a new sprout of energy that has happened. And around this sprout, you still don't know what all is hidden and what all is going to come after this process. After the Kavya, after the Kartra has met his poetry and the poetry is beginning to manifest, you don't know what all is going to come out of this poetry that you are going to write. What are the hidden things which are going to come out from what you are going to write? What about you are going to reveal in this process of poetry? In the spiritual context, when the union has happened, when you have experienced that moment of union and you come back, you are changed forever. You're changed forever, and there is this constant longing for that feeling of Sudhavarsha again and again, and it leaves you like a mad person. And in this transformation and this new enlightened version of yourself, you still don't know what awaits. You still don't know. It's still a mystery all the time. So that is the next stanza. Going ahead, he says, Bhutada bhava udbhava java, Bhutada bhava udbhava java, mole udisuvadu pratibhe nava. Okay, so when after all the initial anxiety and the emotions that has led to this journey, okay, that is Bhuta is your past. From all these experiences of the past that have come together, now a new horizon is it's sprouting up. Something new is coming out. A new poetry is coming out. A new day has dawned. Udbhava Java. A new day has dawned. A new light has come into being. And now what was in the womb by sprouting is now like a baby. It has come into form. A new creation has happened. And now this creation that has happened, this Kavya Kannike, she feeds it with her breast milk. She feeds it with her love. She feeds it from her heart. Mole udisuvadu. She feeds it from her breasts, from her Amrita Kalasha, from the energies and Amrita Kalasha. This new creation is being fed constantly from the source of energy, the Kamadhenu again. The Kamadhenu and this woman are now one. Now she is a reflection of the Kamadhenu because she is breastfeeding like the cow feeds milk to the universe. She is breastfeeding the child, the creation also. So Male Udisuvalu Pratibhenava, and what this Kavya Kanniki gives is Pratibha, talent. And this Pratibha or energy or light of creativity that is reborn through this process of creation, this keeps becoming new every now and then. Every piece of poetry is new every time you read it. Every time you utter the words, it gains new meaning, it gains new subtexts, starts revealing. So this newness, this ever new, ever being born sense of this eternal process is happening in Kavya. Even in the spiritual context, this enlightenment that has awakened in you has given you a new jnana kuso, which is a new, Purandaradasa says, kusanu kandira, jnana the kusanu kandira. Have you seen the child? Have you seen the child of jnana that has to come after enlightenment? So this baby of enlightenment, it is constantly fed by this immaterial power that you have sought refuge in. And through the love of that immaterial power, this jnana keeps growing and revealing new things to you. Like a new poem will keep revealing new truths, even to the poet who has written it. Once he has written it, it's not his anymore, it's the world's. And the interpretations will start looking new even to the poet sometimes. So that is the reference of this. So the second part talks about the manifestation of the physical aspect of the unhearable sound of nada. Now it is in the physical form. It has come out in terms of words, in terms of kavya. Now what happens? Now the next process of how to find the hidden meaningfulness in the words that have come out. So this is the next process that any manifestation has to go into. So the next process is like a question and answer. It's a question and answer between the poet Ambika Tanaya Datta or the Rabindra with two other people. Who are these two other people? I will come to it. Okay. So this is the phrase. ಚಿತ್ತಿ ಮಳೆ ತತ್ತಿ ಹಾಕುತ್ತಿತ್ತು ಸ್ವಾತಿ ಮುತ್ತಿನೊಳಗೆ, ಚಿತ್ತಿ ಮಳೆ ತತ್ತಿ ಹಾಕುತ್ತಿತ್ತು ಸ್ವಾತಿ ಮುತ್ತಿನೊಳಗೆ, ಸತ್ತಿಯೋ ಮಗನ ಸತ್ತಿಯೋ ಮಗನ ಅಂತ ಕೂಗಿದರು ಸತ್ತಿಯೋ ಮಗನ ಅಂತ ಕೂಗಿದರು, ಸಾವಿ ಮಗಳು ಭಾವಿ ಮಗಳು, ಸಾವಿ ಮಗಳು ಭಾವಿ ಮಗಳು, ಕೂಡಿ ಕೂಡಿ ಕೂಡಿ. ಈ ಜಗ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮನ ಮಗ, ಅಮ್ಮನೊಳಗ ಅಪ್ಪನ ಮೊಗ, ಅಪ್ಪನ ಕತ್ತಿಗೆ ಅಮ್ಮನ ನೊಗ, ನಾ ಅವರ ಕಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುದತ್ತ ಅಂದ, ನಾ ಅವರ ಕಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುದತ್ತ ಅಂದ, ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುದತ್ತ ಅಂದ, ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುದತ್ತ ಅಂದ. Next, this is the next two phrases of the poem. It's the next section, the third section. Now here the poet says, Chitti male tatti hakutittu. Chitti male is the rain that happens during Chitta Nakshatra. Now this rain of Chitta Nakshatra, it is allowing the impregnation of the land. It is allowing the sprouts, newer sprouts to happen. Tatti hakutittu. But this rain, though is very useful for the new life to begin, for the new crop to begin, it cannot be in its singularity responsible for crop. So the rain that comes after Chitta Nakshatra is the rain that happens in Swati Nakshatra. The Swati Male, the Swati is also very important. So once the Chitti Male happens, there is a process of creation in beginning, but the Swati Male that comes, that completes this creation, and out of this creation a new sprout is born or a new crop is born. So now, Chitti male tatti hakutittu swati muttinolaga. Now this can go on to many layers. Like I said, when first process of creativity has happened and the Kavya Kanika is born, now it needs editing. It needs editing and internalization to give it a final shape, to give it a final structure that makes more sense. So that Swati process has to happen. And when this Swati process happens, what happens is that there is this concept of Muttu or pearl that will emerge. And that Swati Muttu that comes, Swati Muttu is white pearl. The white pearl that will come and shine. So that is going to be the manifestation of poetry. It might be a little confusing when you're listening to it. But if you look at it in a spiritual angle, like this poem has always been about layers, when you talk about the other layer, Chitta is Chittimale. Okay, so when the Chitta is beginning to mature, it's marinated in the spiritual experiences, what is required for it to come out shining like a white pearl is Satya or Sat. So when the Satya mix with Chitta, it becomes Sat Chit Ananda. So that is the pearl, the shining pearl that is going to manifest as creation, as poetry. So this union of Sat Chit in the next level is now happening. So this is so that is what is giving this entire process a new lift to another space. So Sat Chit is going to happen. So Chitti Male Hakut Tatti Hakutittu Swati Muttinolaga. Okay. Another way of looking at it is the Chitta Nakshatra is representative of the Asura Bhava, and Swati Nakshatra is the Sura Nakshatra or the God. So when the evil and the God, they are coming together, when the bad and the good, the light and the darkness, when the black and the white, the yin and the yang, when they are coming together, when they come together and merge at this point, and when they come in union, the Swati Muttu, Chitta, the Muttu, your soul starts shining like a pearl. So that is when it is now ready to be presented as an ornament. Now it is ready. But for this to happen, for this process to happen, what should happen? How will this Sat Chit Ananda manifest in a person? It is when the concept of I or the ego dying. So that is happening. So in the next phrase it says, Satyo Magana, did you die, O child? Satyo Magana, Anta Kugidaru. So they shouted, have you died? They asked. Who are the people asking? There are two daughters, there are two women who are asking now. One is Savi Magalu, one is Bhavi Magalu. Savi Magalu is, Savu is death, Bhuta. Okay, so one is the child of the daughter of the past and one is the daughter of the future. So they both are standing and asking you, did you die? So the past is asking you, all these experiences kill your ego, and the future is saying, if you have to become a pearl, if you have to manifest, the I should die. So both the present and the future are standing and asking you, have you died? So when both the present and future die, or the concept of I dies in both present and future, only the now remains. So this now is eternal. Now this is a shining pearl. Now this is eternal. Now the concept of time is unwrapped. The two-dimensionality of time goes. There is no past, there is no future. Now it is all a circle. Because when the I dies, there is no past and future. There is no reference point to look at the past and future. So when the reference point itself goes away, there is eternality. In this eternality, the pearl shines. So the daughters of past and future, your conscience, the creative conscience within you are constantly asking you, did the I die? Did the I, the Nanu, the me, the Aham, has it died? Satyo Magana? If it has died, then the Swati Muttu will be represented. And to this question, now the Bendre or Ambika Danyadatta, the beautiful mind that he is, he answers. ಈ ಜಗ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮನ ಮಗ, ಅಮ್ಮನೊಳಗ ಅಪ್ಪನ ಮೊಗ, ಅಪ್ಪನ ಕತ್ತಿಗೆ ಅಮ್ಮನ ನೊಗ, ನಾ ಅವರ ಕಂದ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುದತ್ತ ಅಂದ. So he says, of course, the I has died. Who is I? What is I? This whole world that we see, ಈ ಜಗ, this whole world is the creation of is born out of Appa and Amma, the father and mother, the Prakriti and the Purusha, the Brahma and the Atma. So when they both come together, this world is born. The Maya, the world, the illusion of this world is created. So where am I in it? If I see this, if I know that this is all an illusion and all of this is non-existent, then where is the concept of I? It has died. So E Jaga, Appa Ammana Maga. So this whole world is the child of the Prakriti and Purusha. Out of this Prakriti and Purusha, the world is born out of this union. Now, how does this union happen? So, Ammanolage Appana Moga. Inside my mother's face, my father's face. It can be again a sexual imagery of union, of kiss, but also beyond that, it is the representant, it is the talking of Brahma Bhava. It says, now if Prakriti is a woman and Purusha or Brahma is the male aspect, now he says Ammanolaga Appanamoga. So inside Prakriti what you see is Brahma. So there is Brahma inside every living being in the world. So now where is I? What is created is from the source of energy. So that is the Bimba. What has come out is Pratibimba. So when the Bimba and Pratibimba are merging, and Pratibimba is nothing but a reflection of Bimba. So where is any other thing? There is a Bimba and there is a Pratibimba. So where is the I? There is no I. It has died. So he is making that very clear. Appanolaga Ammanamoga. So inside Prakriti there is nothing but the reflection of Purusha. And Appanakattege Ammanavaga. And this Purusha carries all the burden of Prakriti in his neck. It's holding it. He is holding it in his neck and he is carrying it. His face is reflected in her and all her weight is carried by him. So they are mutual. It is again sexual imagery. Again sexual imagery of how his face is on her but all her weight is carried by him. It's a sexual imagery also in a philosophical level. The Prakriti is a reflection of Purusha, or the Atma is a reflection of Brahma, and the Brahma always carries all the weight of the Atma. It is nothing but you are just an atom floating around it, but the gravitation is always with the center, the nucleus. The nucleus controls the gravitational power of the atom that is roaming around it. So now this is Appana Kattige Ammana Noga. So this is carrying all the weight of the nucleus that is going around it. And out of this union, the world is born. Na Avara Kanda. So the concept of me is nothing but the union of them. So Satya Magana is, of course, who am I? I am nothing but the union of that Prakriti and Purusha. Shri Guru Datta Anda. Okay, before coming to that, here this stanza is very beautifully also a reflection of, or the reiteration of Kalidasa's version of Stotra from Raghuvamsha, I think, where he says Vagartharthiva Samprathau Vagartha Pratipadhaye Jagatha Pitarau Vande Parvati Parameshwarau. So he says that Vaga, so if Shiva is the word, okay, the meaning of the word is Shakti, the word Shabda, and the meaning of the Shabda is Prakriti. So Vagartharthiva Samprathau Vagartha Pratipadhaye Jagatha Pitarau Vande. So the father and mother of this world are Parvati Parameshwara. So what is created as meaning, what is come out as a Kriti. Now if the sound of that is Shiva, the meaning out of that is Parvati, or mutually exchangeable. So that is how it is. So there is no meaning to a sound. If there is a meaning to the sound, that means they are in union already. So when they are in union only, there is meaning. So this is the concept, and it also applies to the concept of Kavya Kanyike that we are talking here. When we are talking about in the process of Kavya, or the creation of poetry also. So the poet is just creating the sound is giving the meaning to the poetry, but the poetry has its meaning of its own. There is an energy that is created by the poetry, the rhythm, the structure of the poetry, it creates its own meaning. And when they two are in union with each other, that is when great poetry or Mahakavya is born. Mahakavya is born. So on that layer, this is also what you can understand out of these verses. You can understand out of this. Of course, in a spiritual level, it is very clear. It is the concept of self-realization of all this process of understanding the nada, which is resonating in you. This nada has now created a baby of knowledge, and this knowledge is asking you questions now about who you are. Are you dead? Is the I dead? And once you realize that the I is nobody, that is when the pearl in you starts shining resplendently, and you understand about the oneness with the entire consciousness of the universe. So that is the very spiritual way of understanding this poem. The last line of this part is Na Avara Kanda Sri Guru Datta Anda. Sri Guru Datta Anda can mean Sri Guru Datta, or the conscious in me, the Avadhuta conscious in me. He said that I am their child. The I is nothing but the union of Paramatma and Jivatma. I is the union of energy and matter and nothing else. It is just illusion. I is just an illusion. This is what Guru Datta said, or the knowledge, the child, the Datta, Dattatreya is a child. The child that is born out of the previous union, this child is saying, Sri Guru Datta is saying that Na Avara Kanda, I am the child. Me is nothing but them. There's nothing new about me. I am not an entity in myself. This is the knowledge Sri Guru Datta, Dattatreya is saying this. It also can mean, I, this child, I am very beautiful. Anda is also beautiful in Kannada. So this Guru Datta, what you have received from the Guru, what you have received from the Jnana, this child that is born of the merger of Paramatma, Brahma, energy, matter, Kartra, Kavya, whatever. So out of this energy, what is this born? This is a very beautiful child. Sri Guru Datta Anda, very beautiful, or Sri Guru Datta Anda has said. Amazing wordplay by Bendre throughout in all his poems. This is the problem. It can be interpreted in so many ways, and every time you read it and you say it, you start realizing so many things. With this, we come to the last part of the poem, the last stanza or contour of the poem. The Naku. Like the Naku Tanti, there are 4 contours to this poem also. This has only 2 verses. This is the ultimate part of the poem. Anu Tanu Nake Nakutanti Nake Nakutanti Sollisadiru Nillisadiru Om Danti Gananayaka Maimayaka Saisayaka Madi Guriya Tumbi Kuriya Kannu Gananayaka Maimayaka Saisayaka Madi Guriya Tumbi Kuriya Kannu Dhatu Matu Kudi Kudi. The last word is just Kudi. Union. It's just Kudi. It is the ultimate union. It is the point of merger. The point ends with the word Kudi. Here, through the process, now what is born, there is a clear description of what is born. So he says, finally, we have come to know that out of all this process, that there is only 4. Nanu, the Atma, Neenu is the Brahma, Anu, is the world that created out of this, and Tanu is the consciousness that shines through everything. The universal consciousness that shines through everything is Tanu. So Nanu, Neenu, Anu and the Tanu. There are only 4 tantis ultimately. And when you do that, like in the Tanbura, when you hold, there is the 4 strings. What happens? When you string them together, that is the nada that comes out of these 4 tantis. It is finally the enunciation of Omkara. So he says, Sollisadiru, don't make these 4 tantis speak, or don't make them stop. It is in a constant state of motion. Even if they speak continuously, there is Omkara. Even if you stop in the silence also, there is Omkara. There is Omkara anyhow, existent. Even if the Nalku Tantis are reverberating in union or stopped in union. A body continues to exist in a constant state of movement or constant state of rest unless stopped by an external force, Newton's law. When we talk about acceleration, it's like that. This Omkara is ever existent. It is always there. Sollisadiru, don't speak, it will still be there. Nillisidiru, don't stop, let the tan play. Even then you can hear Omkara. Even when you stop the tanburi, in that silence, you feel Omkara. Even when you are continuously playing, that nada is Omkara. See, that is the beauty of the spiritual process. If you are constantly aware, also you can hear Om. If you are unaware also, ultimately there is Omkara in every being. Sollisadiru, nillisidiru, Om, 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 Om comes Danti. So now the creation has happened. This Omkara is Danti, is Ganapati. Danti is Ekadanta, Danti, the one with one long teeth. So Ganapati is called Pranavakara Siddhivinayaka, Pranavakaram, one who is the representation of Omkara. That is the Ganapati. So what comes out is Om Danti. There is this creative energy of Ganapati that has come out. The imagery of Omkara is called Ganapati Danti. Right now, you would want to go back to the inner imagery of Ganapati breaking one of his danta and writing Mahakavya, what Vyasa is saying. Just see how beautifully this imagery merges into this whole prescription of, into this whole depiction of this spiritual journey of a guru narrating something and the Atma listening to that. And when the merger of that happens, the Mahakavya is born. The Kavya Kannike comes and it is manifestation, and this Omkara or Kavya is born, or this self-enlightenment energy comes out of this. So this representation of Ganapati, also in that imagery you can come back to that. Om Om Danti. So Danti, Ganapati is born. Now what you should do with this Ganapati that is born? What you should do with it? Gadanayaka, he is Gadanayaka. Mai Mayaka. Mai Mayaka is, his body is full of Maya. His body is full of illusion. Understand that. This Ganapati that is born is an illusive body. It is not a manifested body, it is an illusionary body. Or he has manifested in me. My, English word, my, Mayaka. He is inside me now. This Ganapati is inside me. Or the poetry that has come out is illusionary. These words are all illusionary. They take different meaning under different people. So what you see, these words are just illusion. The meaning of the poetry happens in the mind of the reader. So this physical print is nothing but an illusion. Isn't it? The Shabda is given by the mind. It is heard by the ear, by the inner ear. And through that, meanings are born. Otherwise, the print word is just an illusionary representation of nothing. It is nothingness. So, Mai Mayaka, whose body is Maya. Use this energy. Sai Sayaka Mahdi. Sayaka is Soma Sayaka. You must have heard. Sayaka is the arrow. Now, make this energy as the correct arrow. Correct. Sai. Perfect. Make it in perfect arrow. Guriya Tumbi. Now, Put all of your aim into this energy in the poetry that you want to put. Guriya tumbi, kuriya kannu. Hit it to the bullseye. Kuri kannu is reference to bullseye, or kuriya kannu in Kannada, kuritu means about, who you are addressing it to. So to what you are addressing it to, hit that eye of manifestation where you want to take this energy. Focus it to that source and throw this energy at that source and make it meaningful. So what you have gotten, give it back to that energy. Now give it back to that energy. Let it manifest multifold. Is what he is saying. Mai mayaka sai sayaka madi guriya tumbi kuriya kannu. Now with all of your intentions, that is right, guri, or your aim is correct, throw it at the source to whom you are addressing it, to the issue that you are addressing with your poetry with, in the spiritual context. Take back all the energy that you have gotten and give it back to Paramatma. Merge, become nothing, become zero. Dhatu, Matu, Kudi. And when you write this poetry, make sure there is Matu word in it, Dhatu. Dhatu is the meaning, or Dhatu is the Anahatana, the unheard sound, the music. Dhatu, Matu is also reference to music and sound, or the tonality, or the unheard meaning that comes out while saying the Shabda. So let them both come. Let the Prakriti and Purusha again unite and give back. Kudi. Let there be constant state of union between the dualities. Dhatu, Matu, Kudi. So this is how the poetry ends. This talks about the creation, how like the whole world is nothing but a poem, an illusory poem that happens between an exchange between Prakriti and Purusha, or the manifested and unmanifested, between the imaginary and the image, between the reflection and the image, between the source of energy and the energy, between matter and energy, whatnot. All the dualities conference together to create this illusionary existence that is the life that we are leading. That is what we try to see around us, and that is the beautiful manifestation of everything that we know. And this existence is Omkara, the silent sound that is constantly reverberating inside everything that is universal. That nothing, it's nothing but a frequency. Everything is nothing but a constant frequency that is running out. So this is the spiritual tonality of this poem, or otherwise also this is what the poem is trying to say. So Nakutanti, so the imagery of tamburi, and when you display it and how Omkara keeps manifesting, and through that there is sound, and inside that sound there is silence, and inside that silence there is sound. It's like a, parallel mirrors, an imagery that keeps reflecting within each other. It's a never-ending, infinite eternity that is always existing, that is never born but is always born. It is a beautiful way of looking at what. It's very much like an Escher painting which has no beginning and no end. So this poetry is like that. You keep digging it, new meanings keep coming out of it. My interpretation of it might be very childish to many, or it may be very understandable to many, or it might seem illogical to many. But like I said, Kavya is a personal treasure. Once the poet has written it, it becomes mine. Now when it is mine, I talk to you about this Nakutanti, which is mine, no longer Bendre's, but it is mine. So when it is in my hand, what does this poem speak to me? That is what I have said. If there are any mistakes, kindly let me know and kindly forgive me for those mistakes. If not, I hope you really enjoyed this. Please read this poem. Please read it multiple times. Engage with it. Understand it more and more. And keep enjoying the bliss that comes through this. Thank you for listening in. Namaste.